What's up? Now, I don't normally do the whole video blogging on an opinion kind of thing, but I figured I really wanted to make this video simply because of some rather disrespectful and underhanded comments made by Kevin Nash. As I've developed as a fan through obvious source of the internet, things like that, I've always maintained a keen interest in the product. I've always been a fan of the WWE. I've always been a fan of when WCW was around, ECW, TNA, not so much these days, but I watch as much as I can and is a general interest. It's always been a part of my life. I don't like to pride myself on being smart to the business. Smart to the business to me is just someone who, likes it maybe a little bit too much. I don't know. I mean, you tell me. When I first got into wrestling, I must have been about 8 years old. Kevin Nash, WCW, he was the man, and I was tripping on Kevin Nash. He was one of my personal favourites. He was a 7-foot guy, massive. He was the leader of the Wolfpack. I woke up this morning to see that he had made comments on referring to Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, obviously two wrestlers who passed away in 2005 and 2007, and personally, another two of my favourites going back to WCW. I mean, I looked up to these guys just as much as I looked up to Kevin Nash. What they did in the ring was different to what the likes of Kevin Nash could do. I'm not putting down Kevin Nash one bit, but if somehow, some way this video gets to Kevin Nash, which I doubt it ever will, I want you to listen to this, because I'll explain something to you from a fan's perspective. Now, given I couldn't ever explain anything to you about the business that you didn't know, you're a legend. You've been in the business for years. I know, I'm not disrespecting you. I have all the respect in the world for you and every performer that's ever stepped in the ring and ever made something of themselves for it. But from a fan's perspective, what you said struck a chord. Now, if you don't understand why it struck a chord with fans, with fellow wrestlers, I know Chris Jericho's made some comments directed back at you. You understand what I was talking about with fans being smart to the business and being not smart to the business. There's two types of fans, really. There's a fan who likes to enjoy it for the product, and there's a fan who likes to enjoy it that little bit further, go a little bit further, and trying to find out what else is going on. I'm not saying that there's a positive or negative way to enjoy wrestling. I'm very passionate. I'm an advocate for it, and I believe that wrestling is one of the best forms of entertainment in the world, no matter how you enjoy it. And in 2004, No Way Out, Eddie Guerrero beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, and that was a month before the event which you claimed killed wrestling. As far as your argument about smaller guys and bigger guys are concerned, Eddie Guerrero was, as you say, a smaller guy. Now you're talking about he beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Any fan who was smart to the business, as one would say, would have clocked that he was planning on leaving the WWE. A month later, he had plans with the NFL. Obviously, he ended up at UFC, and anybody would probably have figured out, oh, Eddie had a chance of winning this. Now, personally, I don't think that the belt would be dropped to Eddie Guerrero on that night. But I still enjoyed that match. I enjoyed when Eddie Guerrero beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, and God bless and God rest Eddie Guerrero's soul, because he was one of my all-time favourites. But that's coming from a fan of myself. I consider myself smart to the business, but I also choose to enjoy the product. Now, if that means ignoring certain things that are smart to the business, and so be it. Maybe I wasn't as smart to the business back then, but I knew damn well that Brock Lesnar was leaving the WWE, much like anybody else did. But Eddie Guerrero, in the art of storytelling, or whatever you want to call it, Eddie Guerrero and Brock Lesnar put on a cracking match, which ended with Eddie Guerrero overcoming Brock Lesnar, a man twice, 3 times his size, to be the WWE champion, the first time in his career, after everything which fans who are smart to the business or not would have known he had been through in his personal life. Someone who you would call a vanilla midget. Fair play, whatever, you're entitled to your opinion. But the comments about how it killed wrestling, how a smaller guy can't be as much of a big draw as a guy who's maybe 7 foot, 300 pounds. That night, the smaller guy beat the bigger guy. And a month later, two smaller guys, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, held the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship and embraced. They were friends, they embraced. It was a legitimate moment, a special moment that fans like myself will always remember. Now, regardless of what the WWE may shelter or safeguard as far as Chris Benoit is concerned, he will always be, in my heart, one of my all-time favourites for what he did in the ring. Obviously, whatever led to his death and the death of his family is not for me and anybody else to comment on. I don't believe. Everybody knows the facts. Think whatever you will. And somebody who knew these men, how could someone like yourself, Kevin Nash, say something about two men after they've passed away? I don't agree with you one bit, Kevin Nash. I am almost embarrassed to call myself a fan of yours. When you returned to the WWE for a brief run last year, it was awesome. It was nostalgia. This is just coming from one fan's perspective, one fan who you have offended with your comments. You have offended me as a fan. You have offended fellow wrestlers. I couldn't give a shit if you care for my opinion or any fan's opinion. But at the end of the day, those fans are the ones that put money in your pocket.